You're in the show.
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays. Welcome to the November AMN Live Q&A session. This will actually be our last live session of the year. So thank you so much for not only tuning in today, but for joining us monthly throughout 2023. November and December are busy times around here, and we're excited to round out our live Q&A with a discussion about traveling throughout the holidays. We are joined with two extremely knowledgeable and fun guests today. We have Senior Director of Recruitment, Mark Lozano, as well as Senior Director of Account Management, Ashley Egan. So thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Hello.
Yeah. Before we dive into introductions with you both, let's review one more time for our audience, just some housekeeping items for our discussion. So first and foremost, throughout our time, feel free to drop questions or comments in the chat. I'll be keeping a lookout for your questions, and we'll be sure to relay them over to Mark and Ashley throughout our discussion. While you're online today as well, be sure to check us out on social media. Our Instagram handle is @AMN Allied, and we also have a mobile app. It's called AMN Passport. So when you download that mobile app, you can view all of our hot jobs and get connected with AMN Healthcare recruiters. Lastly, but certainly not least, quick reminder, tomorrow, November 30th, is the last day to apply for our current $5,000 scholarship contest. That's on the AMN Passport app. And qualifying candidates for this scholarship contest are SLPs, PTs, OTs, as well as school psychology graduate students. So if you are a graduate student watching this, hop on AMN Passport. There's a handy QR code on our screen here too. You can scan for more details. All right. So now that that's out of the way, Mark, Ashley, I would love to turn it over to the two of you, give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, maybe tell us a little bit about your journey working with AMN Healthcare and, what your current positions entail today.
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, thank you. My name is Ashley Egan. I am a Senior Director of Account Management at AMN Allied. I've been with AMN Allied for almost 13 years. Started as an account manager, so I've been within the organization my entire tenure here with the company. I oversee a team of account managers and account coordinators presently. And I'm excited to be here and talk about traveling through the holidays with you guys today. So thanks for having me.
Okay. My name is Mark Lozano. I've been with AMN in recruiting in Allied for over 15 years now. Team loves to call me a staffing dinosaur, just lots of experiences and lots of knowledge throughout the years. I have I guess a team of about 21 or something underneath me. But love coming in, day out, and going through everything there is to go through with my recruiters that are on the team.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. And I think you guys are the perfect guests to have today because you each oversee operations from, the traveler point of view, as well as the client point of view. So I'm thinking we should start out by discussing the market for allied professionals during the last few months of the year. What does that volume of jobs look like for travelers during November and December? Or maybe historically, what trends do we typically see to round out the year?
Sure. Ashley, you want to cover the job order count?
Yeah. So historically, what we tend to see is a little bit of a stabilizing or even sometimes a dip in job demand going into Q4. And so that's kind of a blanket statement, kind of generally speaking, that there are some outliers depending on the discipline, like CT, RAD, cath lab. Some of those disciplines we actually see increase going into the winter months. But generally speaking, we can see, like I said, kind of a leveling out of orders, new orders coming in. And if you think about it too, one of the factors could be extensions. So our clients really try to double down going into the holidays on retaining their contract staff so that they can ensure they have coverage going into the holidays. And so we may see fewer new orders or net new orders as a result, because more clinicians are extending on their current assignments. So that's kind of generally what we see in the market from a demand perspective. I don't, Mark, if you have anything from the traveler side of things, what do you guys see in recruitment?
On the recruiting side, it does slow down towards the holidays. A lot of travelers that are out there, they're taking back-to-back contracts throughout the entire year. They're out there grinding, and a lot of them do like to take a lot of time off towards the end of the year. You have Thanksgiving, and then of course you have Christmas. So the orders do start to slow down a little bit. As Ashley pointed out, a lot of travelers do start to extend so that they can secure a position into the new year. So there's kind of sometimes less to choose from on the order count perspective, but a lot of facilities still need the coverage. They still have the patients, so it becomes a little bit of a challenge with travelers wanting to take time off to go be with their family, to have it, just extended time off to take a vacation. But also the demand is still there on the facility side, so it does become it becomes a little tougher. And what I tell a lot of the recruiters that I work with is that it's just a little bit of a tougher season, and many travelers want to do the new year, new me, and travel at the very beginning of January, which is totally understandable. It just becomes a little more difficult to secure a position for the very, very beginning of January. People are taking time off. There's budgets being reset, and sometimes it's a little slower to get an interview. So market's still there. It's just sometimes it takes a little bit more work to get what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as a recruiter, talking about time off, I hear a lot from clinicians that they're hesitant about starting assignments during these last few months of the year because they do want that time off. They want to be home with their families for the holidays. So, from both of your perspectives, how likely is it that facilities will approve time off for the holidays, if a clinician is able to start now?
You muted yourself, Ashley.
I knew that would come up. Okay. I think it depends really on the client, because, some of the clients are more flexible, more malleable with time off, depending on what their needs are from a staff perspective. They may have their internal staff may already have a lot of time off scheduled, and so they may not have the flexibility, or they may have a smaller department where they really need somebody there, and can't afford to have the time off. So you have to consider also from the client's perspective that a large factor into why they're probably even looking for a traveler is to secure time off so they can allow their perm staff to take that holiday time off. And so to bring someone in who also is requesting time off would be counterproductive. But that's not always the case. So, it's not uncommon for us to see clients when they post the orders to state up front too, no holiday time will be considered or approved. And so we try to do a really good job from an account management standpoint to get that into the job description so that it sets those proper expectations with all parties, and we don't run into, time off being a deal breaker at the end of the process. But the earlier you book too, if you're booking early November or you're staying on assignment and extending through the holidays, I think you have a better likelihood of getting your time off considered versus if you're trying to start early to mid-December and say, oh yeah, I also want 2 weeks off or a week off during the holidays. I think you have a little bit more clout if you're starting earlier, and they can kind of consider your request when they're planning their time off as well. So my advice would be just also be creative and be flexible with
Mhm.
time off, because we understand you're human. You want to spend holidays with your family and your loved ones, as we all do. But if you can take your time off, maybe early December, or even wait till the new year and maybe the first or second week of January, and you can be flexible, then I think everybody can still get the time off, and it's kind of a win-win for everyone.
Yeah. On the recruiting side, travel's all give and take. It's all flexibility. Once you get towards the holidays, you have to be a little bit more flexible with your give and take. If you start an assignment mid-November and you ask for the week of Thanksgiving, the week of Christmas, and the week of New Year's off, well, they're around this time, as Ashley was saying, they do have perm staff that are also taking some time off. So flexibility around how much time you actually do need versus want is going to be very, very, it's going to be vital in order to get the position that you're looking for. Because some places, if they see 3 weeks off in a 13-week assignment all through the holidays, they have to support their perm staff. So that might be a deal breaker for them. So if you're talking to your recruiter, let them know what you can and cannot do, what's a deal breaker for you, and what you absolutely must have. So that way the account manager can go ahead and present that on your submittal, on your profile, and the point of contact at the facility can decide if it's going to work for them, or if they would like to move forward with an interview to see what you can work out on the call.
Right. Yeah. Better to try than not try at all. See what you can get approved.
And be upfront, of course.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And we actually have our first question in the chat.
Ooh.
All right. From Rachel, do you think facilities are more willing to wait for licensure during this time of year, since supply of travelers might be lower with the holidays?
It's possible. I mean, the licensure piece is always a gamble, roll of the dice. So if you're waiting on a license, but you are targeting a start date of prior to the holidays, that might be something that a client is willing to consider. And again, it depends on the client and the market, and how maybe difficult it might be to get candidate pool to that specific region or in that discipline. But it's definitely worth having that conversation, like Mark said, with your recruiter, and we can always check with the client and see what they're willing to consider. But I think Rachel makes a good point that the candidate pool is a little bit more restricted during this time. So it is a good opportunity to think outside the box and maybe go for things that in a quote unquote regular market would maybe be less considered.
Yeah. And I think with that topic, kind of backing up a little bit, how long does it typically take to get a traveler started in a new position? Like if a clinician is just starting conversations now for the first time with a recruiter, do you think it's possible at this point to get someone started in a job in December?
It is. I mean, I've seen some submittals go in like 10 a.m. in the morning and get booked in an hour later. Our credentialing turnaround time is anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks at this point. So and especially if the traveler is on top of their game, and if they they get their requirement list from their credentialing person and they go tackle it right away, then that 2 week turnaround time is very, very realistic.
Yeah. And kind of going back to that, you don't know till you ask. We've, seen start dates that are 2 weeks away from now. We've seen start dates that are 6 or 8 weeks. So whatever you're interested in, get the conversation going. And kind of switching gears a little bit, what would you say to the clinician out there who is tuning in and they are thinking about assignments after the new year? Kind of that new year, new me, like you said, mentality.
That I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. And I'd say, just from a recruiter perspective, January is super competitive. Like you mentioned, a lot of our more seasoned travelers do end up taking time off around December. So everybody's just trying to book all at once. So do you have any tips or advice for travelers, who do want to be more competitive going into January?
Yeah. December is a very it's a very busy month for January bookings. And as I mentioned earlier, everybody wants to start as quickly as possible in January after all the holiday time and taking off. Because what I always say and still do say is, if you're not, they're burning, not earning if they're not if they're not working. So they want to start as soon as possible in January. And as you mentioned, Nicole, it's very competitive in January. It's almost a mad scramble to secure an assignment this month to start next month. So what you really want to do is you just want to be as flexible as possible, and realize that these are 3-month assignments. It's 13 weeks. Sometimes you might have to accept, or it might be in your best interest to accept a position that isn't on the low end of your scale, but it's just something like, the money's great, location's decent, I'll go ahead and do this. Because I think what a lot of people lose sight of sometimes is, in a 13-week assignment, after you've started that assignment, within 6 weeks, you and your recruiter are talking about your next spot to go to, extension or new assignment. If you settled for something where location, pay, maybe shift or setting wasn't the best, then in 6 weeks, you and your recruiter are going to start to work together to find what you are looking for on that next assignment. So flexibility is key, especially when everybody's looking for a job at the same time.
Yeah. And I would say too, you guys kind of touched on it, just to elaborate, if you're a newer traveler, if you're, kind of a newer grad, or you're trying to get into a setting that maybe you haven't worked in before, and so you're trying to gain experience and kind of build your resume, putting yourself in a December start date really does help set yourself apart, because those more tenure travelers, like we've already touched on, are going to be waiting till January a lot of the time. And so you do have a better chance of, kind of landing that dream job, or maybe something that's outside of what you would normally go for, if that's what you're interested in. And it all depends on the individual too. But it is a really good opportunity strategically, if you're trying to get a different type of job or a different setting, or just try to, stave off some of the competition. It is a really good strategy to be flexible and try to make that December start date if you can.
Huge.
Yeah. And Mark, coming from the recruitment side of things, do you have states off the top of your head that are typically like quick turnarounds if someone is looking to get started right away? Kind of maybe thinking more therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oregon's a very good, it's a very quick one. The South Carolina, North Carolina is a little bit longer, around the 4 to 6 week. Texas around 4 week. But as far as anything that might close within within a 2 week period or something like that, like Alabama or West Virginia, then those are some that you can get into very quickly and secure that position right away. And those ones, facilities that in those states that have a short licensure, they're more likely to take somebody without an active license, as long as on the submittal, the recruiter informs the account manager where they are in that process. The point of contact the client in that state knows, for the most part, how long licensure is per discipline in their department. So if they get somebody that says that application, fingerprints, and everything have been submitted, they know that clock ticking, they can get here in less than 3 weeks. So let's go ahead and give them a call.
For sure.
Yeah. And obviously for therapy, the compact plays, a role in that too.
Oh, I missed the compact. Oh, compact's huge, because if you
alley-ooped me on that one, you set me up.
Yeah,
compact is great if you can get it. If you're in the compact, if you're eligible and you're looking obviously in a state that has the compact license, that's a shoo-in. So.
Less than 2 weeks. And if you're compact eligible, just submit and apply for that state, and you'll be good to go quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question to keep in your back pocket. If you're a traveler, ask your recruiter, where can I start in 2 weeks? What's active now that we can get going in? And, in a lot of ways, like we've talked about, the last 2 weeks of December and the first 2 weeks of January are typically our slower times. There's oftentimes a lot of decision makers for facilities who are maybe in and out of the office. Sometimes we're waiting on clients as well to get their Q1 budgets approved, just delays in that nature. Ashley, from an account management side of things, when would you say we see the pickup again, kind of the back to normal, if there is a normal of volume of jobs?
Yeah. So generally Q1, not surprising, kind of after the holidays and the dust settles, both, travelers are rearing and ready to go, but also, clients have taken their holiday time off as well, because we see, a lot of time off from HR managers, et cetera. So things can drag out a little bit just because you're dealing with a time off on that side of things too. So, mid-January going into February, we do kind of see things start to pick up again as far as speed to market, or, response times, the process moving at a normal pace, but also, our new orders and demand tend to start picking up as well. So, like you mentioned, budgets tend to reset in January, so that can affect the increase in volume as well. So yeah, I think it's nice because it's in line with what the travelers are doing too. From the time off perspective and wanting to start in the new year, there is definitely still a great opportunity for those who are, planning to take that time off through the holidays and start back up at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, there's no wrong time to look into travel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And something that I'm curious about to get your all's take on, as we approach 2024, are there any settings or disciplines when thinking about IRL disciplines or therapy disciplines for the allied side that you think will be maybe the highest volume of opportunities, or what's booming right now as we look towards 2024?
You or me, Ashley?
Well, the CT, cath lab, those are both really big right now. Rad tech is where we're seeing a lot of, we're seeing kind of a spike right now, but PT and SLP are always high demand. So those haven't gone anywhere. Those are pretty stable in terms of the demand, but we are seeing an uptick in those other disciplines that I mentioned, CT, CLT, and rad tech.
Those have been pretty solid for 2023, and of course, as it gets colder, we're going to see a little bit of an uptick in respiratory as well, per usual.
Right.
But nothing out of the ordinary. Just this along the same trends is probably what we're going to be seeing in 2024, unless something crazy happens.
Knock on wood.
Let's hope not. Yeah. And what about kind of advice for travelers who are tuning in today, want to make the most of their travel experience? I think you guys have seen a lot of different perspectives in the organization and have maybe some advice on just how to make the most of it. Any words of wisdom?
Standard stuff. Be open, be flexible. Understand that a lot of things that happen in travel are sometimes out of your recruiter's control, out of your own control. All that you can really do is just do your best, trust your recruiter, and just lead into every situation just with an open mind and understanding that some facilities might be better than others. And sorry, I had an echo and that threw me off. Some facilities might be better than others, and flexibility is just key. And just understand it's temporary. So if it's great, extend. If it's just not the best, then talk to your recruiter about finding you another job.
Yeah, I would also, to build on that, say communication is key. With obviously your recruiter, the more you can communicate, there is no such thing as over communicating. So it's really helpful, I would imagine, for a recruiter to kind of know every step of the way where you're at, how you're feeling about things, what direction you want to go in. And that really helps the recruiter work with the account management team too, so they can relay it. So, it's not just the communication doesn't just stop with what you share with your recruiter. That goes to the account manager, who then turns to the client. So the more we can communicate, the more effectively throughout the whole process, through the whole chain. It's like that game of telephone, things start to get left out or misconstrued. So the more effective we can be at communicating through the entire chain, the better it is going to be for everyone. So that obviously we try to do a really good job of that as best as we can on the account management side with our clients and with the recruitment team. But that also then trickles, to the clinicians as well. So if we could all just do our part and communicate, I think it makes it a lot more seamless and a better experience for everyone.
Yeah, love it.
Get along.
What'd you say?
We could all just get along.
They just play nice in the sandbox.
Yeah, and I think something that, travelers may not know when they're chatting with a recruiter is that recruiters actually don't speak directly to the facility. They speak with an account manager, someone that actually oversees who speaks with the facility, and then we meet in the middle. So just as you were saying, as transparent as you can be and just communicate, that will help streamline and move things along quicker for sure.
Yeah, but facility account manager is a facility point of contact, just like a recruiter is a traveler's point of contact. And behind the scenes, that's where we try and work out, what the facility wants and what they're willing to do, and what the traveler wants and what they're willing to do. And we just hope that we can.
We're the matchmakers. We're behind the scene trying to match the best candidate with the best job and make dreams come true.
That's right. And I saw a couple of questions in the chat just about accessing AMN Passport. You should be able to just search that in your app store on your phone, or hop on Google and type in AMN Passport. It looks like we dropped a link as well, so hopefully that works for you. If you guys have any lasting questions, drop them in the chat real quick, and we'll get to those. I think that's really all we have planned for today, unless either of you have any other topics you want to bring up.
No, we covered a lot, actually, I think.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope to the audience out there, this conversation has sparked some thought on what traveling through the holidays for you could look like. Our next AMN Live Q&A will be in January 2024. So we have a month off. Enjoy the holidays. And in the interim, you can follow us on social media channels for more information just about travel and to view where our jobs are. Our Instagram handle is @AMN Allied. And I think that's it. So happy holidays, everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you. Bye.